Hello again. Now, there is widespread speculation that a cabinet reshuffle is imminent. Some analysts say President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa is likely to be in talks with some of his cabinet members. Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula's role must be replaced because he's now taken up a full-time role as a Secretary General of the ANC after their 55th National Conference in December and January. Now, let's discuss this further. I'm joined by political analyst Sandile Swana. I guess it is that traditional case, Sandile, of not if, but when we will find out who is in the cabinet. Good afternoon. But the president is taking a bit longer because my understanding now is that we have to wait until after next week, Wednesday, which will be the day on which Enoch Godongwana, finance minister, will be delivering the budget speech in Parliament.
Yes, thanks, Braden, and your viewers. You'll remember that there were some people who were saying this should be done before the State of the Nation address, etc., etc. But when you look at it, that type of agency does not actually exist. The president has got to be careful how he chooses his cabinet. And some of the issues that are relevant this time is that he has got to choose a cabinet that can be what I call the A-team, because since 2018, when he took power till today, the cabinet that he has had in place has moved from crisis, perhaps, to disaster. So there is a lot of unclear performance at best, but certainly these ordinary South Africans have been at the receiving end of much great suffering from the failures of our cabinet.
Yeah, while there is no agency, we can continue to speculate, Sandile, about what he should be doing. I made a comment on the evening of the State of the Nation address that his announcement that there's going to be a Minister of Electricity in the presidency hopefully does not mean he's going to be adding to the existing post. Because remember, when he came in 2018, he said he's going to streamline the cabinet, but he appointed more deputy ministers.
Yes, that should be part of the cabinet reshuffle, because the operation of this presidency and the cabinet is burdened by clutter. There's been a lot of committees and subcommittees and side committees, all sorts of things. For instance, on this issue that we are raising of the electricity minister, there are about, if you include the president, I suppose you could say there are about 7 ministers that form this NECOM. And NECOM has got a double M at the end, because it's not just a committee, it is a committee of ministers. The Gwede Mandashas are there, the Pravin Gordhans are there, Godongwana is there, and so on, who are pursuing this energy plan. And they seem to be doing quite well. So the idea of having a ministry when the work of that committee is being coordinated and directed by the Director General in the presidency also seems confusing. But certainly I agree with you. I've just gone through the whole list of the cabinet, once again, the ministers and the deputy ministers and their performances over time. And I think there's plenty of room perhaps to cut that cabinet by 50%.
Yeah, and also maybe clarify some of the portfolios. He's got an opportunity as well, Sandile. I just want to get your sense here of bringing younger energy.
Yes, I also looked at some of the ages. I think there is a group starting from dates of birth from 1977, and obviously that goes way, way back. So you do need younger people who are well-educated, well-trained, and well-experienced in the portfolios. And it still worries me that South Africa, being the most industrialized country in Africa, which is technology-based, that there are no engineers, no technologists in the cabinet at all. I mean, Butima Namela did go to the Technikon and study electronics, but is in charge of TVET colleges. So that is not in operation in the actual service delivery side of government. So our base of science and technology is very poor, and it needs to be strengthened. And there's a lot of people there who are put because of relationships more than what they can add to that cabinet.
Yeah, let's just bring up a name here because he's a shoe-in. No matter what ANC has told us and other people have said, Paul Mashatile is the incoming deputy president of the country. Okay, that's what has happened historically. If he gets there, I mean, what kind of difference would he bring to that? Because the deputy president has also been the head of government business.
Yes, and Paul has been very cagey about what he can do for South Africa this time. But we do know what needs to be done in South Africa. The economic side, and you'll be aware that Gauteng dominates the NEC, the top 7 of the ANC. And there is this general belief that people from Gauteng know something about making money and creating wealth and all that. So one of the things that would put him under pressure is to say, is there anything that him and Ramaphosa can actually do with the growing unemployment? That roughly, basically, since 1994, our total number of unemployed people has actually almost tripled by now. So there is a need to address that. There is a need to free up investment. Things like the Lanseria Smart City, which was first mooted around 2007, and it has still not kicked off. And Ramaphosa has mentioned it repeatedly, but it doesn't kick off. So those are some of the major economic development and highlights to restore South Africa as an economic leader in Africa. That would be Paul's job. Whether he's able to do it or not, it's another question.
Yeah, I mean, in the last minute or two that we have with you, Sandile, may I ask this? When we were at the State of the Nation address last week in Cape Town and talking to various of the ANC MPs and ministers, they were saying you're going to hear about bold decisions. I mean, what would a bold decision look like for the cabinet? Would it be a reduced cabinet, number one, more fresh faces and out with some of the old? In your view, what would a bold decision around this cabinet mean?
A bold decision would be to reduce the size of the cabinet, number one, which means you match certain portfolios. And number two, it would certainly be bringing up into the ministry competent, well-qualified younger ministers. And I was pleased actually and surprised to see that some of the top-scoring ministers were people like Mbalula. I read the Mail and Guardian scorecard for the cabinet. People like Balula, people like the Minister of Justice Lamula, and so on. So people like Putima Namela, although they've been quiet, David Masondo. So there is youth there and there's youth in the ANC, but you do need to improve the quality of the cabinet as well. So you need well-experienced, well-educated, new cabinet ministers who are young and bring fresh energy and fresh ideas into the cabinet.
And a smaller cabinet. Thank you very much for that, for those views and insights this hour. Political analyst Sandile Swana, as we continue to speculate about the imminent cabinet reshuffle. It's not a question if or whether if, it's a question of when. We are waiting to find out what's going to happen after next week, Wednesday.